Hey, welcome back to One American's Perspective. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about the concept of truth in and of itself, and I've been doing a lot of thinking, meditation on this subject. And as you know, it's essentially the primary intention of this channel is to seek truth, to find truth, whatever that might mean. It even, as I've been thinking about it, I realized the defining that word is in and of itself hard enough. So I've been trying to attack it from multiple different angles and think about it through different lenses. And one thing that I was thinking about this week was, the how dangerous truth can be perceived by some. And this last few years with the pandemic and the concealing and the disinformation, the concealing of truth and the disinformation that's been put out and rhetoric as lies to attempt to control people, I think has been a really polarizing example for all of us to be able to see kind of how threatened people can be by truth. And I was wondering, well, why is that really? And I think it has something to do with the fact that man cannot create truth. And I mean man in the greater sense that human beings cannot create truth. It exists beyond us. And because it exists beyond us and outside of us, it's not something that we can control. In a previous video, I've talked about how I think we lie because it is a stand-in for truth that it can originate from us, and therefore we think we have more control over it. So if I say this shirt has different colors on it, and none of the shirt colors are red, but if I say that this shirt is red, that's a fabrication, that's a lie, but it gives me the sense of control, maybe a false sense of control over my environment to make me feel better. And if I go everybody out and tell everybody that I have a red shirt, talk about how my shirt is red, that allows me to have some say in how I'm perceived and how others will perceive information. And when we start talking about large corporations and governments and organized bodies that have a lot at stake, financial, physical, whatever sort of entities, things that we value are often at stake when large organizations and large group of people come together, and we want to control that the way certain information is held or how things lay out, because it allows us to protect or to acquire more of those resources. Because truth has a mind of its own. So in the case of the pandemic, the origin of COVID-19, the health effects that it had, the proper ways to treat, the long-term effects. We get into the efficacy of the vaccines and the side effects and all of these litany of things that we saw purposefully misleading information put out on both sides of the aisle in order to control a response, to control it. Something that was uncontrollable. The truth was that COVID-19 is a virus, and that for some people it was deadly, for some people it wasn't. There are unknown effects. We don't know how it's going to. There's all these unknowns, and that plays into some of the truth that it exists. And for some people, for multiple variety of reasons, that scared them. So we saw powers that be attempt to replace that truth with with lies or partial truths that they thought were going to get them the end results that they wanted, where truth doesn't abide to man. It doesn't abide by what we want it to be. It is what it is. I think of it like love. The real feeling of love is there's no suitable fake replacement for it. There are things that attempt to live up to it, but it's distinctly different. Anybody that has ever been in love or felt love for a family member, child, spouse, a parent, sibling, what have you, knows That's a distinctly different feeling than lust or admiration or fear. Those are different things, and we could call them love, or we could call love something else, but it doesn't fundamentally change what it is. And that's just something that I was thinking about, was why is it so scary to us? Why is the actual truth sometimes so frightening? So frightening that people would go out of their way to conceal, to alter the telling of those fundamental truths. And I think it's because it has a mind of its own, and we can't predict what it is. It's a living, breathing organism that can't be controlled. And when human beings don't have some semblance of control over the world that they live in, myself included, that's a frightening thought. And when so much is at stake, as is often the case, like I said, in all these, especially in the pandemic, so much is at stake with money, monetary, and lives, people, trade, foreign relations, diplomatic relations. I suppose it's understandable to see why people would want some semblance of control. However, lies to do that, while we might think that we have control, and we might in the beginning, often, strangely enough, develop their minds of their own. So maybe, in fact, we aren't really the arbiter of the lies that we tell. They might generate from us, but then grow, much like the virus, COVID-19, outside of our control, and become to have a mind of its own. And perhaps it's possible that the long-term effects of such lies will be worse than the long-term effects of such truth. And that's something I don't have a simple answer for. Just some ideas on the fundamental concept of truth in and of itself. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.